Comics Cap versus MCU Cap. In that video, I answered some questions that World's Okay's cosplayer had done comparing and contrasting MCU versus Comics Cap. And I decided I want to make my own list of questions. Who has a better origin? This is the MCU Cap. The comics have told his origin story like 97 times, and yet none of them do it as well as the first Avenger. However, the comics win for the better telling of when Steve came out of the ice with the miniseries of Captain America Man Out of Time. Who has a better beard? While they're both generally clean-shaven, the Infinity War version of Cap just has the most magnificent beard ever. Who has a better version of Bucky? I'm going with MCU. I never liked how Bucky was a kid, fighting in a war. In the comics, they've tried to explain it. They've given more backstory on it. They've aged him up. I still don't like any of it. I do not feel like Steve would feel comfortable taking a kid into a battlefield. Who has a better love interest? MCU Cap wins just based on Peggy. That relationship is phenomenal. If it weren't for Peggy, then Comics Cap would win, but that feels unfair because he's had multiple, whereas the MCU Cap has 1.5. Leading on to that, who has the better version of Sharon Carter? Based on my previous question, you might think that this is an easy win for the comics, but it's a trick question because it depends on when we're talking about for Sharon. Between her introduction in 1965 to her supposed death in 1979, that version of Sharon is not good. I recognize the issue people have with the MCU's version of Sharon, but let me tell you, the comics version of that time period was worse. However, after Sharon was brought back in 1995 and given a huge personality makeover, she wins. Who has the better Funko Pops? Okay, I don't have this entirely organized by comics versus MCU, although, this stuff is all MCU, and this stuff is, except for the two Peggy's, are the comics ones. And, they're all pretty good, but Infinity War and Endgame Cap just aren't the best. Who has a better version of Sam Wilson? I love Anthony Mackie and what he's done with the character, but the backstory that they gave him, I like it better in the comics than in the MCU. I like Sam as a social worker who helps the community and then also does super heroics. MCU version has that bit where he also works as a group counselor, but I just feel like it's better done in the comic. This is, of course, ignoring the whole fiasco of the Red Skull supposedly rewriting his backstory, which then had to get rewritten again to try and salvage the character. That legitimately may be the worst thing to ever happen in a Captain America comic, in my opinion. Who gives better speeches? Given this to the Comics Cap, that might be unfair, though, just because he's had more opportunities. And most important of all, who has the better butt? This goes to the MCU Cap. The Comics Cap generally has a pair of blue briefs over his blue pants, and the only reason there can be for that is to, just de-emphasize that whole area.